Hello and welcome everyone to the daily news analysis of 31st of January 2024। तो इम्पोर्टेंट आर्टिकल हिंदी न्यूज़पेपर से वन बाय वन डिस्कस करते हैं। पहला जो है इकोनॉमिक एनकोमियम, देन ए ब्लॉड मैपिंग ऑफ इंटरनल फीमेल माइग्रेशन, नेवी फॉइल्स हाईजैकिंग बिड बाय सोमाली पायरेट्स, रेस्क्यू 19 पैक नेशनल्स, देन ग्रेजुएट्स कन्फ्रंट Chinese soldiers in the eastern Ladakh, center starts a survey on participation of women in workforce. After 4 years of survey, India's snow leopards count put at 718. India nominates 12 forts of Marhattas for UNESCO's World Heritage list. Then IMF says global soft landing insights lifts 2024 growth outlook. Astronomers spot unusual object that falls within the black hole mass gap. Economic and ahead of interim budget for 2024-25 on third day, the Finance Ministry's 10-year review of economic with some forward outlook serves as a proxy to the annual economic survey. The review signals GDP will grow close to 7% in 2024-25 with scope to grow well above 7% by 2030 from about 3.7 trillion this year. India's economy will expand to 5 trillion in 3 years, making it world's third largest and could hit the $7 trillion mark by 2030. It reckons splicing India's growth story in two phases, 1950 2014, and a decade of transformative growth since 2014. The review stresses that the state of the economy was far from encouraging when Prime Minister Narendra Modi assumed power. Growth was hobbled by the structural constraints such as tardy decision making, ill-targeted subsidies, and a large informal sector, while inflation was on palatable high. Post 2014 reforms have restored the economic's ability to grow healthily with longer and stronger economic and financial cycles and made India the fastest growing G20 nation, it argues. The review asserts that India's 7% growth when the world is growing 2% is qualitatively superior to 8% to 9% achieved when the global economy grows 4%, perhaps hinting at a few years of UPA era. This is debatable as India's economy is generally delinking from the world with domestic activity driving growth more than the exports. Now that the twin balance sheets problem inherited from the UPA days has turned into an advantage as the review stresses it must translate into a wider private investment revival that would hinge on a board-based consumption rebound rather than the K-shaped recovery the government vehemently dis- dismisses. 4 years of 7% plus growth post-pandemic would be commendable indeed. However, India needs to grow faster to create jobs at the scale its youth need and ensure that a rising growth tide lifts most boats, if not all. The review expects an all-inclusive welfare approach to help enlarge the consumption base by expanding the middle class. But those dependent on handouts, such as the 800 million that need free food by the center's reckoning, must progressively shrink for growth to be meaningful and equitable. The report rightly mentions reforms in learning outcomes, health, easier compliances for smaller firms as priorities, with some critical changes at the sub-national government level to accelerate growth. It is also essential that flaws in reforms such as GST are fixed and some of the blunt policy tools deployed, for instance, import license and price control and deregulated products that send convoluted signals about India's open market with predictable policies, which are reconsidered. The next article है a broad mapping of internal female migration. Migration is a crucial form of physical and social transformation transactions in India. The periodic labor force survey (PLFS), which collects data on employment and unemployment indicators in the country, has estimated it to be 27% from June 2020 to 2021. Normative literature Rajan et al. 2020, Jesslyn et al. 2021 usually documents it as a male-dominated narrative. However, women, especially of working age, comprise a greater share of migrant pool, but there is little dialogue surrounding them. This is a concern given India's falling female labor force participation rate (FLFPR). It also raises the question of whether women face employment barriers due to post-migration conditions. National survey in inaccurate pictures. National surveys such as the PLFS capture information about female migrants but often convey an inaccurate picture. For instance, surveys only ask the respondent regarding their primary reasons for migration. PLFS data suggests they're the leading region for migration among women marriage 81%, followed by migration of family members 10%, employment 2.42%, and migration for education opportunity 0.48%. There is no provision to know the secondary reasons, motivations such as climate shocks and food insecurity, which can be a crucial driver of migration for women. In the same vein, data from this survey regarding migrant women's labor force participation can be misinforming. According to the PLFS, approximately three-quarters of the migrant women are unemployed. Approximately 14% of migrant women are in self and wage employed jobs, and approximately 12% are in casual labor. This round of data collection was during the COVID-19 pandemic, which might explain the low numbers but does not adequately underscores the problem of under reporting of their employment status. Anecdotal evidence and findings from the respective works of the researchers Sunalde Desai and Ashwini Deshpande suggest that it is not casual employment, indicating the underestimation of the number of migrant women involved in the various sectors that might be categorized as casual or even for informal, such as agriculture, construction, and domestic help. Second, definitional issues and women own beliefs also lead to an underreporting of employment of a migrant women. According to the definition of employment used by national surveys, only those with some form of verbal or written contract with their employer are considered part of the labor force. Consequently, women are largely classified as unemployed. However, what is often overlooked is that women choose forms of employment that allow them to handle their domestic duties while contributing to the household's production or finances, thus working as unemployed family workers in household enterprises or being self-employed is common amongst them, but they may view that as an extension of their domestic commitment instead of a form of employment which leads to them misreporting their employment status, human and social capital. Notwithstanding these arguments, if indeed entire entry to the formal labor force is challenging, one labor force could be the need for more human and social capital. In the PLFS data, 85% of the women have less than 10% of 10 years of education, which can create problems. While there is no significant difference in the educational level of the migrant and non-migrant women, migrant women are proportionally less employed than the non-migrant women. Coupled with the lack of social networks, especially after they migrate, these factors can significantly hinder their employment chances. Such barriers might also explain the dismal recovery of women's labor activity after the pandemic. A study by Yale University on this issue observed that after the COVID-19 induced lockdown, 55% of women never returned to their places of employment, and those who did so earned only 56% of their pre-pandemic income levels, regardless of the sparse number of migrant women formerly counted in the labor force. Female migration for labor employment increased by 101% between 2001 and 11. However, they remain largely visible, facing significant hurdles and marginalization. Consequently, this result is unaddressed struggles and a lack of targeted policies. From a political standpoint, women migrants are not a considerable vote bank and therefore their needs are not addressed. Although recent polls would disagree, political parties do not campaign to gain migrant women's vote. This has several detrimental outcomes such as lack of good data on female migrants and treating migrant men and women as the same. Though this endangers policymaking which is poorly informed about the needs, motivation and conditions of female migrants. Policies such as One Nation, One Ration Card, e-SERM, and affordable rental housing complexes are examples of this, as they are mainly targeted towards the male migrants populations. Steps to take to remedy this. Several steps should be taken. National surveys should compile more information regarding their socio-economic conditions post-migration, as very little is known about it. For instance, the PLFS indicates that a minute percentage, approximately 7%, have access to social security benefits. There is no data for the rest of the populace. There is also a lack of time use data. Nadal et al. 2020 charms 2019 for migrants, as India has not made that norms yet. Time use that data would significantly help advance existing knowledge regarding the employed female migrants on a broader scale. A change in narrative is required, starting with an increased collection of female specific data. It will illustrate the largely anecdotal problem and bring awareness about the plight of these women and to encourage progressive policy making. The next article is Navy foils hijacking bid by Somali pirates rescue 19 Pak nationals. In the second successful intervention within 36 hours, the Indian Navy's offshore patrol vessel INS Sumitra, deployed in the Gulf of Aden, neutralized a hijack situation and rescued the Iranian flagged fishing vessels Al Naimi and its crew of 19 Pakistani nationals from 11 Somali pirates off the east coast of Somalia. In another incident, a coordinated multilateral response between the Indian Navy, Seychelles Defence Forces, and the Sri Lankan Navy foiled the hijacking bid on a Sri Lankan fishing trawler. Swift response. The Indian Navy, in a statement on Tuesday morning, said that INS Sumitra was pressed into action to locate and intercept the Iranian flagged fishing vessels Al Naimi, which has been boarded by pirates with its crew of 19 Pakistani nationals taken hostages. Responding swiftly to the developing situation, Sumitra intercepted the vessel on Monday and through cohesive posturing and effective deployment of her integral helicopter and boats compelled the safe release of the crew and of the vessel. The ship also undertook confirmatory boarding to sanitize and also to check on the well-being of crew who were held captive by Somali pirates. This incident came just after INS Sumitra prevented a hijack incident in the area after responding to a distress message from Iranian flagged fishing vessels Iman with a crew of 17 Iranian nationals which had been boarded by pirates and the crew taken hostages. A hijacking incident was reported about the Sri Lankan flagged fishing trawler Norenjo Putha 04 about 955 nautical miles east of Mogadishu, Somalia. and three pirates had boarded and hijacked it. On January 27, the Indian Navy deployed INS Sarada from Kochi on Sunday afternoon and also tasked its Sea Guardian high altitude long endurance unmanned aerial vehicle with locating and intercepting the hijacked fishing vessels, the Navy said. Additionally, efficient operational coordinations and information sharing through the Sri Lankan and Seychelles international liaisons officers at Information Fusion Center for Indian Ocean Region IOR New Delhi resulted in the interception of the hijacked fishing vessels by the SCGs Topaz and in Seychelles exclusive economic zone on Monday. The three pirates surrendered to Seychelles Coast Guards. All six crew members are safe and vessel is being escorted to Mahe, Seychelles. The Navy said. INS Sumitra, over the course of the less than 36 hours through swift persistent and relentless efforts has rescued two hijacked fishing vessels along with 36 crew, 17 Iranian, 19 Pakistani in southern Arabian Sea, approximately 850 meters nautical miles west to west of Kochi, and prevented misuse of these vessels as motherships for further acts of piracy on merchant vessels. The Navy said on the two incidents to which INS Sumitra responded. The Gulf of Aden has seen a sudden spurt in piracy for Somalia in the last few months after going down completely from the peak around 2010. The Indian Navy has maintained continuously presence with at least one major warship deployed on anti-piracy duties since 2008. The next article है Grazier confront Chinese soldier in eastern Ladakh. Indian graduates were stopped by Chinese soldiers in the Kakjung area of Ladakh along the line of actual control earlier this month, according to a video shot by the local people that was shared on X by Chushul Councillor Nokchuk Stanjing on Tuesday. In the video, the Hadar can be seen confronting the Chinese People's Liberation Army (PLA) soldiers when the latter asked them to go back, claiming it to be Chinese territory. The local people who can be heard speaking in a Tibetan language are seen throwing rocks at the Chinese soldiers. The incident occurred on January 2 near patrolling points 35 and 36 at Kakjong under the Neoma constituency in Ladakh. Mr. Stanjing said, while Chinese soldiers with their vehicles can be seen in the video, there is no presence of Indian security forces. Ises Pajang councillor Neuma told the Hindu that the area is within the India's perceptions of the LAC. He said that after the face of the Sarpanch, after the face of the Sarpanch, the sub-divisional magistrate and official of the Indian Army and the Indo-Tibetan Border Police (ITBP) visited the grazing site on January 12. It is a valley and is essential for winter grazing of cattle. In 2019, the Chinese had tried to stop the grazier, but we had pitched tents to assert our claims. The nearest army on unit is present around 5 to 7 kilometers from this place. That particular day, they were not present, Mr. Spaljang said, adding that the Hadar had started from their village around 20 days ago before they reached the location. Mr. Stanjing said on X, see how our local people are showing their bravery in front of the PLA, claiming that the area they are stopping in our Normarch grazing land. PLA stopping our Normarch from grazing in our territory seems it is never a never-ending process due to different lines of perception, but I salute of our Normans who always stand to protect our land and stand as the second guardian force of the nation. He later told the Hindu that the place where the incident happened is within the 1 kilometer of the Indian claims on the line of on the border with China. A defense source said the video is of an incident that happened in the first week of January where normal graziers with livestock from our side are seen in conversation with PLA soldiers. Such incidents are commonplace and happens on both sides whenever graziers stray across the LAC on account of the different on account of the differing perceptions of the LAC. The source said such incidents are dealt with appropriately as per established mechanism. Next article is Center starts a survey on participation of women in workforce. The Union Minister of Labour and Employment and Women and Child Development have started a joint survey on increasing women participation in workforce. The survey was announced by Union Minister Smriti Irani here on Tuesday at a function Women in the Workforce for Dikshit Bharat. The survey is being undertaken to assess the spread of women employee friendly practices in the country. Various international agencies and trade union, including the International Labour Organization, has expressed concerns over the decrease in participation of women workforce in the country. Latest PLFS data, the latest results of the periodic labor force survey released by the Labor Bureau last October showed a considerable increase in women participation in 2017-18. The participation rate was 23.3% and in 22-23, 37%. The survey conducted by the Union Labour Ministry through the Employees Provident Fund Organization and other government agencies has asked questions to the subscribers of the government schemes about policy or initiatives for women by the cam- companies they are employed with. The government is seeking details such as formation of the internal complaints committee for prevention of sexual harassment at workplace, craze for children, equal pay for equal work, flexible or remote working hours for women, and transportation facilities during the late hours. A senior officer said the survey is carried out in a confidential manner. We are not asked in the names of the women or any other identification details except their gender. The officer said the name of the company, its location, and address are also sought in the survey. Next article, after 4 years of survey, India's snow leopard count put at 718. India has an estimated 718 snow leopards in the wild according to the first of its kind 4 years long estimation exercise, the result of which were made public on Tuesday. The snow leopard is known to be an exclusive cat and located in mountainous terrain that is hard to access and exercise. The first time marks a base threshold for animals numbers in India. The highest number of cats was estimated to be in Ladakh 477, followed by Uttarakhand 124, Himachal Pradesh 51, Arunachal Pradesh 36, Sikkim 21, Jammu and Kashmir 9. The current estimate put the number of Indian snow leopard between 10% to 15% of the global population. The exercise involved setting up cameras or camera trap in 1971 location and surveying 13,400 kilometer of trails which terms surveyed for recording signs of snow leopards such as scat hair and other body marker, much like the approach used in surveys to estimate tiger numbers. The states conducted the survey and Dehradun based Wildlife Institute of India, an autonomous body of Union Environment Ministry, used software statistical methods to estimate the number of individual cats that are present but not caught on camera and combined them with those caught on camera. Essentially, we use a similar statistical approach to that being used in the tiger survey for the past 20 years. It is a rigorously tested equation and not dependent on guesswork. B.B. Mathur, former head of the WII, involved In the study told the Hindu one, over the years technology and statistics has improved leading to better estimate what we now have is good scientifically established baseline that will be a reference for future surveys, he added. The snow leopard population assessment in India SPAI began in 2019 and involves the Worldwide Fund for Nature India and Nature Conservation Foundation Mysore along with WII. The snow leopard is classified as vulnerable by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature and faces threats from free-ranging dogs, human wildlife conflict and poaching. So friend, this is all for today and we will meet from tomorrow onwards with new news articles from the Hindu which are relevant from UPSC perspectives. So till then keep studying and thank you for listening. Have a good day.